This is the comfrey that Mr. Charles, the old Alabama gardener, had given to me in little bitty stems. You can see some of them there. To get it home safely, because it was so hot the day of the Great Appalachian Homestead Conference and we had so much traveling to do, I put it in a plastic bag like what you use at Walmart, just real loosely, and set it down in our ice cooler. We had some drinks on ice in Jen's van, and the ice was melted pretty good, but there was still ice in it, and we just set it down in there and let it ride until all through the conference that evening, until we got home at 5:30 the next morning. And I took it out of there and just let it drain, and I set it out here on the porch and set it right here where I like to harden off things. And it sprouted leaves the next morning. It was looking kind of like this little one right here, and I sent a picture of it to Mr. Charles. He said, I didn't remember that having leaves. I said, it didn't. It was just little stems like, I don't know if you can see that. Little stems like that right there that he had put in there. And so this is what I've been doing with it since the conference. Just making sure it stays moist enough. I'm not letting it stay soggy, but I'm keeping it moist, and I'm keeping it in the shade under my little porch on the side of the house. And pretty soon it will be going into the ground. Now this is the Russian Bocking 4 that he gave me. This is a little bit of the Russian Bocking 14 that I had purchased from Lake Effect Farms in Ohio. This is it took a little bit longer. Now I've got more of it that's a lot bigger out on the front, and I've just been trying to harden them off for a couple weeks because they need to go in the ground. They're going to do much better once they get in the ground, but I'm trying to wait. This is the old tree in my front yard that I told y'all I needed to aerate around and clean out, and so I have. And in these two containers, I have Bocking 14 Russian Comfrey that I ordered from Brooke at Lake Effect Farm in Ohio back after Deep South Homestead gathering. So she sent me the little cuttings, and I put them in the soil, and I've just been growing them up in these planters in the house. And then about a month ago, I put them on my porch, and I've just been acclimating them to the heat. And most of the time in the day, this back side of the tree, where the soil is darker looking, is more shaded. Now, I came in and I cleaned this out, and since, I don't know if you can tell it, the top side of the tree, the soil is higher and it kind of runs down a slope, I added some goat manure just for extra layering. And I'm gonna try these out here. I want to put the Bocking 4 out here also, that Mr. Old Alabama gardener let me have. So I'm gonna see how this Bocking 14 does first, because I don't want to lose the Bocking 4 that he gave me just because it's sentimental, because he gave it to me. And I had bought this, and I know I can buy more. Anyway, so that's what I'm doing. I've just been breaking up the soil and trying to aerate it some, and adding a little compost manure, and what I said goat manure, and that's what it is. It's just goat manure, and there's a lot of nice little red wiggly worms in there, so we'll get some worm castings too, and hopefully this comfrey will thrive and just do well. Okay, there's Mitten. When I separated all the two planters, I had quite a bit more than I thought. So I went ahead and planted it all around the tree, kind of experimenting. This darker side is some bigger pieces, and this is a more shady side of the tree, especially in the heat of the day. And then I came around, and on the upside, and this side is the side with the goat poop. This side I did not cover in goat poop because there was more soil, and there was also fire ants. But I took the other pieces, and this is the more sunny side, and I put these here. And hopefully they'll do okay. If they start showing real distress, I'm going to dig them out of there and put them somewhere else. I'm not going to let them die. I can't. So, that was this afternoon's project. It's fixing to storm again. We've had thunderstorms off and on all day. So the ground is moist. I'm not going to water them in. It's thundering. We're going to get more rain. And I think these guys can handle it. They're pretty big. I think they'll do really well in here. And in a few days, once I see if they're going to be okay, I'll come in and mulch it in really, really well. And hopefully have some beautiful big comfrey. And hopefully it'll help this old tree. I thought this thing was about to die. But I'm going to slowly lift you up and let you see it is full of beautiful green foliage now. There are some bare spots, so there is some distress in this tree, but it has really made a comeback. And I think a lot of the problem for this tree is that soil around it was so compacted and it wasn't getting enough air. And I think now that I've aerated some and been working that soil loose from around the trunk a little bit, it should do better. And the cats are definitely enjoying the smell of the fresh earth. They're hanging out. There's Cash Kitty, my garden cat. And then there's my master hunter, Mittens. She's an awesome hunter. You see, she's in stealth mode already. She's sneaking down. She's looking for something to get. And she will. Whatever it is that she's looking for, she's going to come home with it. Awesome cat. And as I said before, all of this comfrey came from lakeeffectfarm in Ohio. Miss Brooke, I purchased it from her. And since there was so much, more than I had thought about, because I gave some of it to my neighbor and some to one of my friends to grow. I didn't realize I had that many pieces going, or maybe it separated itself and took root. I'm not sure. That is all that will be here. I'm not going to try to put Mr. OAG's out here. I'm going to let it grow for a while, get bigger and stronger, and then I will find a totally new dedicated place just for it. This is the Bocking 14 comfrey that I had got and planted, and then the storms came through. And so they took a pretty good beating yesterday. As you can tell by looking at this smaller one, it doesn't look real happy. I'm hoping it makes a comeback and does okay. The leaves are covered in dirt from the splatter. But there's a couple that are doing just fine. I guess the tree broke the wind and the rains, so I'm on these. So hopefully they'll spread out and make their way around this tree and keep it full and pretty and help this tree get the nutrients it needs to. So it's 2 days after that heavy rainstorm with the winds, and the comfrey is hanging in there. Some of it still does not look very perky, but hopefully time will take care of it. This one's got some pitiful little leaves. I mean, it really took a beating. And these are hanging in there. But the ones that were blocked from the heavy winds and rain are looking beautiful. Now, in this series that I want to do, I'm learning. I'm learning all about comfrey. My experience so far with the wound that I had on my arm from the tree stop driving through it, that's the best way to put it, is that it is something that I want to have here always. I want to be a comfrey hoarder, if you will. It was such a good experience, and I know that it has beneficial uses medicinally. I know it has medicinal uses for or properties that are good for fodder and livestock, as well as composting and feeding the soil nutrients. And that's, as I said before, that was one of the reasons I planted it here at this tree. This tree needed some help, and I think this might help. So, and I'm sure that I have overplanted. That's okay too. We'll do a lot of chop and drop if we need to, and use it as compost around the tree and just continue to feed the tree. And then I'll have leaves for my uses as well. I do not have any livestock. I sold my horses. I don't intend to buy anything else like that. I do want to get some Indian runner ducks, but right now I've got so much going on, it is just not the right time, and I know it, so I'm not going to stress myself out with that just yet. I do want to continue a series about the comfrey. I want to learn more about what exact medical properties it has or uses. What is the difference between the Bocking 4 and the Bocking 14? Which one's better for which purpose, as whether one's better for medicinal, one's better for fodder, or if there is a difference like that. And so I will be continuing this series on that. And I'm going to need a little help from you guys deciding where's a good location to put the Bocking 4 from OAG. Now, I have this little huge butterfly weed and some weeds beside it that I need to get out. And I thought about this little area right here in between the two beds, the lower sloped bed and that straight bed. In that sloped bed, that area that's weedy looking, I had carrots there and a couple weeks ago, and garlic, and the husband thought he was supposed to weed eat, so he did. And I need to pull all that out of there again and cut back the butterfly weed. But I think that might be a good spot for the Bocking 4 that he gave me. I think it would be pretty there. I think it would be convenient there, but I'm not sure. So there's other locations around the house that might serve the purpose. And I might get y'all to help me decide about that later on. So be looking forward to that and what comes in the next part of the series. But for now, we've planted Bocking 14.